everyone. I'm Sheyi Alushina, and welcome to Queen City Unleashed. Our goal here at this podcast is to share the voices of Charlotte, and we want to get to know the amazing people who are doing incredible things around our city. This episode is part of our Camp North End mini-series. Our mini-series are going to be where we get to talk to 3 to 5 different guests who share a common thread across our city. Today, to start off our Camp North End series, we have Tesho Akindele, development analyst here at Camp North End, co-host of the Shaping Charlotte podcast, retired professional soccer player, and a passionate urbanist. Tesho, welcome to Queen City Unleashed.
Thanks for having me. You made the bio sound pretty interesting, so I feel like I got a lot to live up to now.
No, you're good. You're good. We're going to have a good time. We'll get to chat. I asked your co-host, Clayton Seeley, this question, and I found out that you guys live in the same area, so I hope your answers aren't the exact same. But if you had to describe who you are, your personality, based off the neighborhoods in Charlotte, Noda, Camp North End, South End, Dilworth, Loso, West Side, Balance, all of them, if you had to define your personality based off of neighborhoods, how would you define yourself?
I would define myself as Camp North End, but with a red line train stop here. So that, to me, that's the only thing Camp North End is missing right now is that access to transit, which I love about Noda. Like I'm a 10-minute walk away from the blue line train in Noda. So Camp North End, fingers crossed, we'll get a red line train stop here one day. And that's me, Camp North End with the red line.
So why Camp North End? What about Camp North End do you feel like is Tesho?
I think Camp North, like we've done a great job of just being a slice of Charlotte. You know, you have everything from super small businesses all the way up to Google Fiber, Centene, Fortune 500 companies here. You have artists, and then you have bankers. You have salsa music one day and like rock and jazz the other day. So I think it's just a slice of Charlotte. I feel like whoever you are, you can kind of fit in here, and I like that feeling. You know, coming from, I came from Florida before this, but I've been all over, and Charlotte's been a place to me that has felt very welcoming. And I think Camp North End is also that place. Like, kind of come as who you are, and like you are welcome here. You'll find your people here.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Charlotte's got that vibe of being very welcoming. I think when I talk about it with my friends, one of the things is like a lot of us are transplants, so I guess we're all a little more open to like being receptive of one another, as opposed to moving to a place like New York where so many New Yorkers don't leave, and it's like, no, they don't have to be welcoming because they've been there forever, they know their stuff, they don't have to, hey, let me tell you my favorite restaurants or walk you around or show you these things. So that's one thing I love about our city.
Everybody knows what it's like to be an outsider here. And so since you experienced that, I mean, we were talking, you said you came here 5 years ago, I came here 3 years ago. It's not too long ago, and we knew at that time, like, man, I'm here, maybe you know somebody, maybe we didn't know anybody coming here, and we were welcomed with open arms, and now when we see new people move into our neighborhood or whatever it may be, welcome them in, bring them into what we're doing. And you know, I found that when I came here from other people, and I'm trying to pass it along.
Absolutely. I remember moving to, like, putting together a list together of like all of my favorite places, and so like when people come here, I'm like, hey, here's my list. If you're looking for places to start for food, go ahead and check these out.
So Camp North End's on the list though, right?
I'll be honest with you.
Oh my god.
No, I'll be honest with you. Camp North End is a place where I am starting to spend more time.
Okay, I love it.
It wasn't 5 years ago when we first moved here, there wasn't as much going on in Camp North End, and I think for a couple of years too, there wasn't as much. Now that there are things going on, like, it is all right, like we want to go. There's some food trucks that I really want to try out, and every time I want to try them at Camp North End is the day that they're closed. And so I'm like trying to figure that out, but I've been here for Boiler Yard Brunch that Dammit Wesley does out of here, and it's just such a vibe and so much fun, and see people hanging out here doing Mad Miles on Tuesdays. I'm not a runner. You will never catch me out here doing that. That sounds like an awful experience for me to just come out and run.
You can just come and power walk though.
Yeah, I thought about it. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll get out just to experience the vibe because it looks like a good time. But Camp North End is, my wife actually surprised me, I think it was last year. She was like, hey, I've got something planned for us. I'm like, what is it? And I happened to put on a Space Jam jersey, or a t-shirt that I had. And we get here, and they're showing Space Jam in the park. And I coincidentally wore the t-shirt, and I'm like, this is perfect.
It's divine right there.
Space Jam was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And so we're sitting there, and it's like hundreds of people just all kind of hanging out. And those are the things that I think are bringing me back to Camp North End more regularly.
I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head where Camp North End, it's funny because it's a very old place and it's kind of a new place. So Camp North End, the first building here was built in 1924, but for a long time it was just kind of either private, warehouse, industrial space. The Army was here for a while, Ford was here manufacturing cars.
Really?
Yeah, so that's the first building on site, the kind of big, our classic crown jewel right in the middle of the site, built in 1924. Ford had a Model A and Model T factory. So they were, and it's crazy. So they built that. They built the water tower. They built like a boiler house to power it all. They're building cars here back in the 20s. That shut down, and then the Army took over the site and built all the rest of it. So pretty much like this building we're sitting in right now, everything else you see at Camp North End was built in the 40s by the Army. So there's a lot of real history here, which I think makes it especially a cool thing in Charlotte, where Charlotte is a very new, beautiful, clean city, which is great. I love that about Charlotte. But some people are yearning for like a piece of history, a piece of old.
Yeah.
And even someone like you who didn't really necessarily know that history,
Yeah.
you can feel that it feels different here.
Yeah.
You know? And so there's a lot of history and story to go into right there.
Is that where the naming camp comes from
So,
the military?
Charlotte
aspect?
area missile plant, yeah.
Charlotte area. No way.
Yeah, camp. Yep. Now you know. Boom. Drop
Wait a
it to
minute.
the crowd. Let everybody
Right,
know.
I've
yeah.
been here 5 years. Charlotte area missile
Plant. Yeah.
And that was from the military stint.
Yep.
No way.
So we kept that, as kind of, obviously it went through a rebranding process, but kept camp in there so as a nod to that history.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually kind of blown away by that. That's really cool. Okay, we're going to get back to Camp North End. I got some other questions I want to ask you. You are a fellow Yoruba man, Nigerian. Can you tell me what your upbringing was like? I know you were born in Canada, then moved to Denver. What is that like when I talk to people about having Nigerian parents and they laugh at some of the things, but you actually went to school to be one of the 3 acceptable careers, doctor, lawyer, engineer. Tell me about that and then transitioning to soccer and how that all fit.
Yeah, so we're both Nigerian, so as soon as I could walk, I bet as soon as you could walk, my dad gave me a soccer ball and he was like, you got to start playing soccer. So I was playing soccer from the time I could walk, and then my dad was actually my coach from the time I was 11 until I went to college, 18. And he pushed me really hard to be soccer. But then, like you said, the end goal was always you get a college scholarship.
Education.
And then get that education.
Education.
So I ended up going to one of the top engineering schools in the country. I was going to, it's called the Colorado School of Mines, small school that was 20 minutes from my house. Dad's happy, Mom. They did it. I got a scholarship to go to that school. I'm on track to be an engineer.
They're bragging about you to all their friends.
Yeah. At all the Yoruba meetups, he was showing me off. Here's my son, the future engineer, right? And then 3.5 years into my 4-year engineering degree, I dropped out, and they were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And I dropped out because I said, "All right, I think I have a chance to become a professional soccer player, and if I don't go after it now, I'll never be able to do it again. I can always come back and finish my degree."
Yeah.
And so they weren't very happy with me. I don't know if I've ever told this story in a podcast, but my parents were giving me money every month for food. And I was like, I just dropped out of school. Can you guys give me food money for 3 more months? And then just to help bridge the gap between if I don't get drafted to play in MLS. And they're like, no. They're like, we're giving you money to go to school, to be a student. If you're dropping out, you figure it out on your own. So I was like, man, this guy real, And luckily, what ended up happening is I did get drafted to go play in MLS.
First round, 6th pick, right?
Yeah, first round, highest Division II draft pick ever.
Come on, Tesho,
Yeah,
talk your stuff. Talk
ever,
your
yeah.
stuff.
No, I'll say that I wasn't the greatest Division II player ever because that's Chris Wondolowski, leading goal scorer of all time in MLS. For now, we'll see what Kai Kamara can do.
Okay.
But Chris Wondolowski, best Division II player ever, but I was the highest draft pick from Division II. So in some ways, I didn't live up to expectations.
Okay, so you get drafted, first round, 6th pick. Your dad's got to be feeling better about your decision, right?
Yeah. At that point, and they were still supportive, but they were just saying that's something that you're gonna have to. If you're really gonna go that way, you got to chase it on your own. But got drafted high pick, and my parents, they were really supportive. And I have to say, going back to my dad, he pushed me from the time I was 11 until 18 to become a much, much better soccer player than I would have been otherwise. All kids are, you want to go hang out with your friends and be lazy and do this and that. And my dad really did keep me, he pushed me to try to be the best player I could have become. So without him, I would have never been good enough to get a college scholarship or good enough to, become a professional player. So it
you
all
getting
worked out.
drafted, he's got to have some pride there that like a lot of this is work that he's also put in too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. His fingerprint is all over my career.
Oh, that's awesome. So you get drafted, good career in the MLS. What is that professional soccer player? What is that journey like for you? What is that experience like? I know you've got a game winner against our hometown Charlotte FC, but like, what does that whole career feel like for you?
Yeah.
Is it a dream? Can you believe it? The ups and downs of it?
Yeah. It's a big question. So I guess where I want to start with that is like the first step of that is when the draft happened, because I was coming from Division II, I didn't know if I was going to get drafted at all. So draft day, it was in Philadelphia. I didn't even go because I was like, I don't know if I'll get drafted. And then I get a phone call like, you just got drafted number 6, and I was like, man, this is crazy. But luckily, I was there in that moment with my dad, my mom, my college friends, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and so I got to celebrate that moment with kind of all my people. So I find out, I forget what day it was of the week, but let's say I find out on a Friday, and then they're like, you need to be in Dallas 3 days later. So that's step one of the journey, is going from, I don't know if I'll even be drafted, to like, you need to pack up your life and you need to be in Dallas in 3 days and start training in a week. So that's a whole whirlwind moment. As you can imagine, everybody's blowing up your phone. Everybody you knew from middle school, they're like, do you remember me? Like, I just saw you got drafted. So that was fun and exciting. And then an experience that happens is, my whole life, this happens to everybody who gets drafted. I was the best soccer player when I was 11. I was the best soccer player in high school. I was the best soccer player in college. Then I go to the pros, and I was the worst. No, not average. I was the worst on my team, for a while. And it was like, man, it's a real reality shock. And it's like, this is a whole other level of the game. Like, I remember one of my kind of great attributes was I was pretty fast. And preseason, we did these like laser timed runs. It was like 30 meters. And I was like, this is my chance to shine, And I ran, and they're like, okay, I was second place on the team, but by a lot. And to this Colombian guy. And I was like, no way someone's that much faster than me. I was like, let me run it again. Ran it again. I got about the same time, and he just was that much faster than me, So you just see, like, there's levels to this. I'm no longer, like, the best player on the team in the way I was. And so that's when you got to dig deep, In soccer, it's funny. There's like 30 guys on the team, but on game day, only 18 get picked to dress. So that means that 12 guys, give or take, are not dressed. And if the game's on Saturday night, those 12 guys they're practicing Saturday morning by themselves. And this is, Dallas in March, and it's cold and it's rainy, and I'm practicing like with the other 12 guys, and we're all upset that we didn't make the team. And you have to like look yourself in the mirror in that moment and say, like, do I really want this, or am I going to pout and complain, and then nobody cares, you'll flame out in a year, or am I going to dig deep and I'm going to take these moments serious? And I did. And so for the first 5 months of my career, I was doing those Saturday morning things every week. Didn't make the game day squad for like 5 months. And then what was a bad thing for one person, our best player got injured, ended up being a blessing for me because they changed the formation and I got my opportunity. So all of a sudden, halfway through the season, I went from not even having been in the game day squad to like, I'm starting the next game, just because of this one injury. And I took advantage of that moment,
Your Tom Brady opportunity.
Yeah, and you get those opportunity in life, but you need to be prepared. And I think I did a good job of staying prepared, and took it, ran with it, and then, that was the start of, I guess, a 9-year soccer career, ups and downs. Got to awesome. Travel the world, but it was exciting.
Like I love hearing this because you got to live a dream that like I had as a kid and other soccer players had. Like, soccer was my entire life from 3 to 4. My dad coached me early on, handed me off to my uncle, then handed me off to some other coaches, and it was all I cared about, like soccer. It was like, I remember as a kid being like, if I ever was good enough, like, and this is when everyone's getting like David Beckham cleats are out, and like they're the hottest thing on the market, or like the old Ronaldinho. I'm like, if I had a soccer logo, what would it be? And like here, like in my mind, like I could do it. And then you get to some of these teams. I remember we played a team, and I was one of the best players on this team, like my middle school team, one of the best players on the team. I was forward, I was scoring goals. And we played this team that had 2 girls on their team. And I was like, oh, we are going to eat them alive. Like, I was like middle school, like when we were 10, 11, you got a few co-ed teams. But I'm like, in middle school, it's like, there's no way. We got out there. These girls were balling. And not just that, but here come two guys. One of them, I will never forget. So by this point, I'm maybe 5'11", 5'10". This guy walks out, he's like 5'5", 5'6". I'm like, okay, who is this guy? They start playing. By halftime, I don't know how we find this out. They're like, yeah, those two guys right there on the national team for this age group. I was like, God, you know what? These boys were running circles around us. And then the girls are taking passes and right back. And I said, that was my moment. I was like, oh, there are levels to this. And like, I was shocked. And then it's like, all right, you got to get better. Like, you really want this? And I remember going through the whole journey. And my dad was like, you know, son, he's like, the school that's recruiting you, he's like, if you don't play here, will you be happy? And I was like, I don't think so. And he wasn't trying to convince me not to. It was just he's a really practical man. And he was just like, I get it. He's like, but if you're not happy, you blow your leg out, you're not getting playing time. Will you be happy in this area at the school? And honestly, it wasn't. Ended up going to Virginia Tech, my dream school ever since I was a kid. And then I got to meet my wife, of course, and like it all worked out. But like getting to hear someone who got to go through the entire journey I love that. Like, I love getting to hear you got to have those moments and score a bunch of goals.
That's honestly, scoring goals is the thing I miss the most about playing soccer, because so far outside of soccer, I haven't found anything that matches that feeling. And like you said, one of my favorite memories is playing here in Charlotte the year before I moved here. Last minute of the game, I had subbed on and able to score the game winner. The crowd is booing you. You know, like everyone is upset at you, and you just got to soak it up. Like we had our fan section up in the top, 50 people cheering for us. The other 50,000 are booing you. But it's like what a moment to experience. You know.
I play defense now in my men's league just because playing forward it's a different endurance, and mentally I was like, I just don't have it in me. Technically, I didn't play for a couple years in school, so technically I was like, I don't have it in me anymore. It's like, as a defender, we play on a Wednesday night, and I was joking with my guys about this last week. There's some tackles, the ball's out there. My team goes, yeah, Shay, if the ball was between me and you, I'm probably not going in for that tackle. They're like, you're one of the biggest guys on the field right here. And they're like, I got to work the next day. So I'd rather do that. But, man, and I was great in the air. I love to head the ball. Like, there was no better moment. I felt like I was floating with the ball up in the air. I didn't care if it was a defender or keeper's hands. But the opportunity to go up and get the ball with my head is just like that feeling. I don't know if there's anything. Maybe a perfect drive on a golf course might be close. But I love those feelings. Yeah. Like that's what you play as a forward. That's what you live for, to score the goals, moment, the boos or the screaming. So I love that you got to do that. So then, what brought you here?
So I played a 9-year career, and when after my 9th year, I was like, man, I think I'm ready to move on to what's next. And my wife had moved from Colorado with me to Dallas. She moved to Orlando with me. We had our kids there. And then it was like, all right, what's best for your career? She had been doing her career kind of alongside me and like finding ways to keep it going. And she had a couple options from where to move. It was like Kansas City, maybe back to Colorado where we were from, or Charlotte. And I'd only been to Charlotte to play soccer once. That was it. I didn't know anybody in Charlotte. She didn't know anybody in Charlotte. But we were like, let's go check it out. And so I remember we came here, and it was like June or July of 2022. And the trees were out. It was like beautiful. And we were like, let's check out some neighborhoods. We went to Plaza Midwood. I remember specifically. There's like hills, and there's restaurants and nice houses and apartments, lots of people around. Mm-hmm. And like, what? This is an amazing neighborhood. What is this place? And then we spent a day in the city. Then we went up to Asheville the next day. And we're on top of this mountain, drinking white wine, like, looking
at like living a movie.
It felt like a movie, and it just that was the exact moment, like when we were drinking that wine on top of this mountain in Asheville, we were like, man, yeah, Charlotte, like, could be the place for us. And we have 2 young kids. They're 6 and 4 now. And it was just like, we want a place for them to plant roots, like where they can really call home and feel home and find kids to grow up alongside of. And so we picked Charlotte, and when we moved here with the intention of like, we're not leaving, at least for the next 20 years, let's say, like, we're not leaving. And 3 years into it, I think we made the right decision.
Yeah, I feel that way now. People have asked me, some of our friends, my Charlotte story is I was in grad school at Chapel Hill, and I'd always wanted to live in North Carolina. playing soccer in Virginia. I was in North Carolina all the time for tournaments. So I liked North Carolina. I wanted to leave Virginia, and I didn't want something too different from Virginia. I just wanted, like, North Carolina and Virginia are very, very similar, even in like their rural areas, their beach, their mountains. So I liked the layout, the landscape. And then I was in Chapel Hill, got tickets for a concert here in Charlotte. Called one of my buddies from undergrad. I'm like, hey, can I crash on your couch? I've got this ticket for you if you want to go with me to this concert. I drive in 12 p.m. on a Saturday, park in front of Leroy Fox in South End. We get lunch at Leroy Fox, and then this is when Lime scooters are still really cheap. Get a Lime scooter. He's taking me all through South End. And here I am. I've lived in 2 college towns, Blacksburg and now Chapel Hill. Never really lived in an urban area. Growing up, I lived outside of Richmond in Virginia, so I wasn't like in the city. And I'm like, this is neat. I was like, lots of young people, lots of things to do. Sycamore Brewing is right there. I remember us just stopping in at Sycamore. This is when it was still on the big lot. And I'm like, this is unreal. We go to the concert, leave the next day. I remember calling my then, we were engaged at the time, fiance, now wife. And I was like, hey.
I've moved to Charlotte.
I was like, Charlotte is awesome, and this now needs to be on our list. And she was like, really? And so I was asking her, I'm like, what areas would you be okay with living in? Because at that time, both of our families were still in Virginia, and we wanted to be close to them. And she was like, I'm okay with Charlotte if you are. We were supposed to visit. Well, COVID happened, so we never got to visit. I had a job here, though, so my wife moved to Charlotte because of my job and never having really seen the city. And I was like, God, I hope this works out. Otherwise, our marriage is off to a start. I'm taking this woman to a place she might hate. I mean, we were 6 months in and we're like, we love this place. And now our friends are like, would you guys move? And I'm like, for what? I was like, this city is paced in a way that fits our lifestyle. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. There's always things to do. The weather is great, pretty good year round. We get some hot summers, but like it's never really freezing cold. And the communities we've been able to build here are incredible. I'm like, people leave a city because they want something else. I don't know what else more I would want that Charlotte doesn't offer me.
No, I agree. I mean, we're recruiting our family here. You know, we're telling everybody, like, you know, think about it because it's amazing. I think Charlotte, like you said, you came here for a trip, but a lot of like Charlotte doesn't necessarily have a lot of great, like, if you're going to vacation for 2 or 3 days,
It's
you go
not a
to New
tourist
York. It's not like a
destination.
very tourist destination, other than I think sports is pretty big. But for day-to-day living, you know, I've lived in a lot of places, and Charlotte is a different level. I love it here.
Okay, so with that, what would you say is one of our shining stars of our city? And besides Cape Northern, because I know Cape Northern, you're going to put high on that list, but like of places where you're like, if you're coming to Charlotte, things you got to do or things you got to experience if you're here.
Honestly, one thing that I think Charlotteans maybe take for granted, but growing up from Denver, I don't, is the trees here. Like, it's like being in a forest, you know? Honestly, like, I'm from Denver, and there's no trees anywhere, you know? And being here, like, every neighborhood is just covered in trees everywhere. So just like, and it just feels, it feels beautiful. It feels kind of like soft, beautiful, comfortable everywhere. So I would say that that's like one part of it is just
The nature.
Just, yeah, the nature is just built into every single neighborhood, which is cool. Okay, what do you got to do? I think, you know, if you ride the Blue Line up and down and get off of any stop between 36th Street and, you know, like Loso Station down there, get off at any stop and go walk for 5 minutes, and there's something great to do.
Yeah.
So I think like that line right there in Charlotte from Noda to Loso, great stuff. I'm partial to Noda, so I love, like, every Sunday we go to Local Loaf for breakfast. It's like a little cafe in the middle of a neighborhood. It's just great vibe, you know? So I would say just do that. If you come to Charlotte and you got to do something, ride the Blue Line, pick a random stop, and like go find a place to go eat. You know, there's the Discovery Place. We go with our kids if anybody's listening who has kids.
I've heard the Discovery Places are like popping in Charlotte.
It's
Like
amazing.
they have, like I hear parents talk about like kind of being excited going with their kids, that they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, gotta fix this.
From our Gifted Kids podcast.
Sorry about
No worries, you're all good. So okay, is there a sight to see though? Like that's one thing that I feel like Charlotte, I don't know if we have it. In my mind, and I feel like you might agree with this, in my mind, Charlotte's landmarks are almost the neighborhoods as wholes, because we were just in New York and it's great, but when you talk about like their boroughs, they're almost different states in a way. Like you're leaving Brooklyn to go to Manhattan or Queens. Like these are almost completely separate places. Charlotte's a lot more compact in our neighborhoods, and they're not as big as a borough. But one of the things I think is really cool is like you could spend, if you're here for 3-4 days, if you spent a morning into afternoon in Noda and did the same thing that night in South End and then something in Dilworth, like you could really get like a few different experiences, but that are similar, but all really different. And I think that's one of our big stars, is just how unique each neighborhood can be in such close proximity to one another.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You got a little flavor of, and then even going further out, you know, you got like South Park. There's interesting things happening there. Ballantyne now at the Bowl, and so there is
Even
these,
Matthews. I mean, that's not like you're just getting
yeah.
further out there, but like get to downtown Matthews. There's a really cool crepe spot like that we've eaten at with some friends. Like it's everywhere has their own little.
Yeah. One of my friends, he has his own podcast. His name is Brad Beal. He likes to talk about walkable pockets.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think about it, is like these little pockets of like walkability where you go there and there's enough density where there's cool restaurants and like shops and stuff like that. And Charlotte has a lot of these walkable pockets kind of dispersed throughout the city. They're all unique and can kind of give you a different experience, different flavor, different, you know, time experience.
Yeah. When we first moved we lived in South End when we first moved here, right beside the Publix. We didn't move our car on the weekend. Like it was very rare for us to be like we were truly going somewhere, because in South End you could walk into Uptown. Like we would just walk everywhere. We're walking into Dilworth, walking into South End, walking all around South End, and it's like we loved it. And now we're on the west side of Charlotte, and now there are businesses that are coming that are making it more of. We've got Savona Mills kind of coming in, and then you've got that Thrift Road where you got like Pizza Baby and the Coterie and Restaurant Constance and Azul, and like. We are now starting to get our walkability in on the west side of the city, which I'm excited about, because leaving South End, that was a bummer. It's like, it's harder to just walk around places on the west side, and now we're getting them. I'm like, we're here, we're arriving, like it's happening. So I think it's dope.
Yeah, no, I love it.
So in Charlotte, you've been here 3 years. What are some of your favorite restaurants to eat at?
So I said Local Loaf. That's my favorite. Let's see. I love Everandolo is really good. I'm going all Noda. Like I spent a lot of time in Noda, so I'm going like a lot of Noda restaurants to me are great. So Local Loaf, Everandolo, and then Goodyear House has like an amazing kind of back patio area.
Okay.
So those are and then so since we're at Camp North End, I can't forget some of the places here. But Surefire Market just opened up, and I'm putting my foot down that this is the best burger in Charlotte. I'm telling everybody listening right now. It is the best burger in Charlotte, and I don't even think it's close. Their burger is unbelievable.
This is high. Look,
it's not even a hot take, because once you have that burger, it's
Surefire?
It's Surefire Market, yeah.
Have you had Ace number 3?
Oh, yeah, and Ace, we still have Ace, and that was my favorite until I had Surefire.
See, we like Ace. So now this is a former guest, Larry, told us we had to check out Harriet's in Optimus. So we did like Harriet's, but Ace is like, if we want a burger, we're going to Ace. Surefire. That's a hot.
No, it's true. The burger is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their chicken sandwich too is unbelievable.
Okay. Yeah. A place that we just had dinner at recently in that I really like in Noda is Haberdish. Mm-hmm. Their chicken there is just so good, and different ways to do it. Like I think they have got a really good spot. We wanted to do Goodyear House, but I think we just needed something quicker that we knew, and so we went to Haberdish. But Goodyear House, and then also. Bob Peters, Chiefs over there. If you've gone for cocktails over there, they also have like this cookie.
I knew you were gonna say. I love the cookie.
Cookie.
Every time my wife is like, "I know you're getting the cookie," and I was, yeah,
oh yeah,
one cookie over this way.
That cookie,
the chocolate chip cookie is unbelievable.
It's so good.
Yeah, it comes
it's
out warm.
So, yeah,
it's like the chocolate is melting. It's delicious.
I wasn't expecting the salt, and then I took the first bite, and I was like, oh, like it's solid.
So good.
So in Charlotte, what is something that you think we need more of, and then something you think we need less of? Because our city is changing and growing, and as one of the people involved in helping shape a big section of our city, and Camp North End is like one of those attractions that you come and you want to spend a day somewhere, you can spend a whole day here. So as our city continues to grow, and I have an idea based off your podcast of what answer you might have, but what do we need more of? What do we need less of?
So I'd say more of what I touched on earlier is those walkable pockets. You know, right now, let's say we have 10 of them or so, and so my kind of guiding light and mission, why I'm in development, is I want more walkability in Charlotte. So I hope when I'm done with my career, there's 30 or 30 plus, like kind of walkable pockets,
Yeah.
places like Noda, Dilworth, Ballantyne, like the center of Ballantyne, center of South Park, however it may look. But I think just giving more people access to the life that I get to live in Noda, where when I leave the house, my kids are like, are we walking or driving? You know, because they don't know. Like, we might walk to the train and go to Discovery Place, or we might bike over to Seoul and get like some food and play in the water fountain over there, or we might drive to their soccer practice. So you kind of got the options, and I love that life for myself. It's not for everybody,
Yeah.
but I know that more people want it than have the access and opportunity to have it right now, and so I'd love to see more of that. What I'd like to see less of in Charlotte, I guess, I don't really know how to frame this, but like limiting mindset. You know, I think sometimes people in Charlotte say something like, it's like, oh, there's nothing to do in Charlotte, or Charlotte's not a big city yet, or you know, like people like to talk down about certain places, and it's like, let's big up ourselves. You
Yeah.
know? Like, let's believe that Charlotte is real. Like, we're here. There's no reason that we shouldn't be in the conversations of like best cities in America.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I think like just that belief that Charlotte can kind of go toe to toe with any of these other big cities. So I think less of that, maybe limiting mindset.
Yeah, it's we're not good enough. We're refusing to. I think one of the things that people struggle with is you have to accept Charlotte for what it is, and I think that's what helped my wife and I, because we didn't really live in a big city before coming here. So we're not comparing it. I think a lot of people come to Charlotte from other big cities and compare it to what they had before, and so it's almost like they operate with a pro-con list of like, well, Charlotte has this but doesn't have this. And for me, I'm not comparing it with anything. So it's Charlotte has boom, 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 all these things that I like. And that's what I'm focused on, because it's like, yeah, of course you can find the things you don't like or that you think you wish could be better. But the other thing that I have a problem with, if you're not gonna be part of the solution, don't make the complaint. Like you say this, Charlotte's boring, make an activity. Oh, there's not enough things to do in Charlotte. Figure out something to do in Charlotte. Charlotte is a city of a whole bunch of transplants and a lot of us are willing to just go for things and just willing to try things. So if you have an issue with something going on, fix it. Fill the gap.
The way I frame it to myself is like, Charlotte's a city that's small enough where an individual can make a difference, but is big enough to matter. So like you said, if you see a problem, you can just be the person who starts the new thing in
Yep.
Charlotte. Like here we have Mad Miles Run Club. Cornell just started running a mile a day, and now there's like 800 people running with him on
Insane.
Tuesdays.
That
Insane.
community is massive.
Yeah, so, and he, you know, like, it's small enough where one person can kind of really put their thumbprint on the city, but it's big enough to matter because there's 1 million people in this city. So,
Yeah.
like, if you make this city better, that's affecting 1 million lives. And I think it's a really unique place in that, like, New York is a place where you kind of have to have connections or a ton of money to, like,
Yep.
really get anything going. Not in Charlotte. Like, if you have a good idea, you can, and some persistence, you can make it happen.
Yeah, I was listening to actually your episode. Clayton sent it to me in Shaping Charlotte, and something along those lines of like, you can be something here in Charlotte. And my first thought immediately was like, this podcast that I have. I was thinking about like, if I tried to do this in LA, Chicago, New York, I don't think it would get traction like that. Like, I really don't. And maybe it could. Like, you see, I don't know if you know, I forget his name, the guy who does Subway Takes.
Oh, yeah.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess there's markets for it, but I was like, this long form storytelling of your city. In a place like New York that's got such a rich history, I don't know if something like this would be seen as beneficial. Like, it'd be like, this is just another guy talking. But in Charlotte, where our city is growing and still finding its shape, like, this is a really cool thing that people are like, no, this is cool. Businesses are like, hey, you know, I'm glad I got to share my story so people moving here know what we're about. And it's like, yeah, I'd rather be this person here in Charlotte than the guy that, like, even if I wanted to make a difference, it'd be really hard to in some of these bigger cities. And so, honestly, I'm at the point now when people start to complain, I'm like, hey, this isn't the city for you. The airport, U-Hauls, there's plenty of them.
And there's 157 people moving here every
Right,
day, you know. So like, people do love this city, and I think it's funny with that stat of like 157 people moving here. Some people are like, oh man, it's too much. Charlotte's full or whatever. But it's all opportunity. Like, there's so much. There's going to be just like if you fast forward from now 10 years, I can't even wait to see what it looks like. There's going to be so much good things. And that's another great thing about Charlotte is it is a city that's growing quickly, you know, and it's a privilege. Like obviously there's growing pains, but I'd rather take growing pains than like shrinking pains. You know, some cities are shrinking or stagnant, and that pain is a lot different and worse than the growing pains. And so I think we're on the right side of the
Companies
coin
are
with that
wanting to move here. They're wanting to bring jobs here. I think it's awesome. So from soccer, I need to ask this question. You went back and finished your engineering degree?
No, I didn't finish engineering. So because engineering you have to do in person, and so I had to do like labs. So I never got my engineering degree. But luckily, when I was playing soccer, the league MLS partnered with SNHU to give us scholarships to do their online program.
Okay.
So I was able to finish my undergrad just in general studies, and I was actually the first MLS player to get my undergrad through that program.
Oh, sick.
So they did a whole graduation ceremony for me at
Awesome.
FC Dallas and everything, which was cool. And then I just kept going, and I ended up getting my master's degree from the same program in finance.
Okay.
So instead of engineering, I got general studies degree and a master's in finance.
Now that you're post-soccer, how's Pops feeling about your career?
I think he's happy with it. You know,
Okay,
like, yeah,
okay.
I think we made him proud. We made him proud,
awesome.
yeah.
So with that, the reason I wanted to ask is, how did you get into development? Again, I've heard a little bit of the story. I think it started somewhere maybe in Orlando, but how does pro soccer player now become big development urbanists in Charlotte?
Twitter. That's how.
Formerly X.
Yeah, formerly,
No,
now X, formerly Twitter.
Yeah.
So literally, I had a day when I was playing soccer, and I remember, I said this on my podcast, but I'll say it here too. One day, this like 15-year-old kid came out to train with us when I was playing at Orlando, and I don't think he had signed yet, and he was so fast and strong. His name's Alex Freeman, and I was like, yeah, my time is about to be done. You know, like if this is the kind of kid who's coming up next, like I just saw, I saw the writing on the wall. I knew I was about to be done, and so I was like, I need to figure out what am I going to do with the rest of my life. And at that moment, I had only done soccer as a job. I had never done anything else, and it's kind of a scary feeling. Like now I have to pick something completely different. Like all these skills I've been building for the first 30 years of my life don't matter at all in any other job. So I was like, man, what am I going to do? And at the time, I was interested in real estate. I had been investing in real estate a little bit. I was interested in education, personal finance, affordable housing. I just had my kids. So
Okay.
I was thinking about like the future of the world. And it's like, what ties all of that together? I don't know. And I decided to just start talking about it in public, basically. So I would go on Twitter, on X, and I would just start posting, my thoughts and trying to like engage with people as much as possible. And it was pretty random at first, just anything I was thinking I was putting out there, and then I would get feedback. People would say like, oh, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And it would put me down different rabbit holes. Then people started reaching out to me in person. So I had a politician reach out to meet with me to talk about affordable housing in Orlando. And she told me to go meet with this group called Orlando YIMBY, who they were kind of advocating for more housing in the city. And it was the first time I'd ever heard of that. Like, you usually hear about NIMBYs, who are like, not in my backyard. They're like against new developments. And this was a YIMBY group who said, yes, in my backyard. We want more neighbors. Like, they're like, we love Orlando and we want more people to have the opportunity to live here. I loved that positive messaging, and had a great time at that meeting. And then the next domino to fall was they told me to go meet with a developer named Craig Usler in Orlando. They call him Mr. Downtown.
Okay.
And so he developed a lot of stuff right in and around downtown Orlando, and like housing, restaurants, office space, all this stuff. And talking to him, he was like, look at how these developments have shaped the city of Orlando, and how people's lives are different and better because of stuff that was built, like that he helped to build. And I thought, like, how amazing is that? Like we really take for granted that, like we were talking earlier about places to go and stuff. Like your favorite restaurant, the house you grew up in, your school, even all these things, your office, somebody built that.
Yeah.
And we really take for granted that somebody like risked it, had the design, like put their career on the line to build something like that. And I thought that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to help build a city and shape it in a way that kind of makes people's lives better. And so after I met with Craig, talking about how all this building he did shaped the city, he said I should read this book called Walkable City. And so I read that book, and it's like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, development is amazing, and then to develop walkable neighborhoods, places where you could wake up and you could walk to the coffee shop, you can walk to get your groceries, you could ride your bike to school, etc. Like man, we need more of that. It's better for the world.
Yeah.
And looping back to my initial interest, it impacts the environment. It impacts personal finance. It impacts affordable housing. It impacts the future of the world.
Yeah,
It's
so it ties everything
it
together.
tied everything together in a way that I wouldn't have imagined was possible. And so, coming here to Charlotte, that was my mission, was like to get involved in making Charlotte a more walkable city. And then so I was like, well, now I have no experience working in real estate, so what do I do? And my first thing to do was look around for who's talking about development in Charlotte. And that's how I found Clayton. I saw him on Twitter talking about development.
You said you guys Zoomed each other.
Yeah. So because I reached out, I DM'd him, and I said, hey, I'm about to move to Charlotte. I would like to talk to you about just like what's going on there. So we had a Zoom call, and I was asking him, who are the developers? I explained to him my vision. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be involved in like walkable development stuff. Who are the people working on that? He mentioned a few things, but Camp North End, he was like, Camp North End is number one. You need to look what they're doing over there. So I was like, okay, who's behind Camp North End? And then went back to Twitter. and I found Damon Hemmerdinger, who's the president of ATCO, who owns Camp North End. He was on Twitter. So I sent Damon a DM. I said, hey, I'm retiring from soccer, and I want to get into real estate development. Like, can I come introduce myself? And luckily, he responded. He said, yeah, come over, introduce yourself. We talked a few times. I introduced myself, came to Camp North End, met the team, and he gave me a shot. He hired me, with no experience in this world.
Yeah, but a passion.
A passion. I think that's what hopefully won him over. And also, so I had a passion for it, and it was proven because I had been talking about it in public.
Yeah.
So over time, my Twitter became more focused. Like, it went from being really broad to really focused on like walkability, urbanism, development. So I'm sure he got my DM, looked through my page, and was like, this kid really cares about that.
You had built social credibility.
Exactly, yeah. And that's an opportunity just sitting there for everybody to take. Like, I had to completely pivot from one career to another, and none of the skills were transferable. But the soft skills were, but for all intents and purposes, the skills were not transferable. And I think like my proven passion for it is what got me the job. And so here I am 3 years later working in real estate development and like really seeing through that goal of building walkable neighborhoods in Charlotte, because that's what we're doing at Camp North End. Like I really like to think of it as we're building an entire neighborhood where there's housing here, there's offices here, there's restaurants here, there's shops here, events, all that, and it's a neighborhood. And I feel really proud to be a part of this project.
So if you could summarize Camp North End, or if you were to give a 20-second, 30-second pitch of Camp North End to someone who's never heard of it, never been here, what would it be?
I would say that Camp North End is on track to be Charlotte's most walkable neighborhood, and Camp North End is a great just slice of Charlotte. So whatever type of person you are, you will find your people here. We have the plant people, we have the artists here, we have now the athletes with Tipsy Pickle. So we have the musicians here. There's space for you. There's a place for you here. And I think it's just a really good cross-section of what Charlotte looks like, kind of top to bottom.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And the other thing that I personally just want to kind of give you kudos for is this is now you're younger than 45, yeah? This is now your second dream that you get to live out. And I just think that's really cool that like you wanted to be a soccer player and you got to do that. And now it's urbanism and development and you get to do that. And like this passion you've had in now 2 different places, I just think that's really cool. I think a lot of people struggle to find their passion, and for you to be able to live that now twice in a very young life, I just think that's super awesome. And I just hope that encourages people to like find something you're passionate about and pursue it, because then the joy you have, I'm sure work is work, but there's also this like enjoyment of self-fulfillment of like, this is a goal that's bigger than just like your job and paycheck. Like this is something you're passionate about for society. And so I just think that's really cool for you that you get to do that.
Yeah, I'm a big believer. I call it like following the fire inside of you. And so like when I was 3.5 years into my engineering degree, the fire inside of me was like, you gotta leave this and go chase after soccer. And I did. And then 9 years into my soccer career, I could have kept going. I still had offers to keep playing soccer, but the fire was like, now is the time to move to something different.
Yeah.
And so I left it. All my teammates, my coaches were like, why are you retiring now? Like, because I was 30 at the time. I still had some juice in the legs, I could have kept going. And I was like,
oh, so you're way below 45.
I'm way below 45.
Below
I'm
45.
33 now. So yeah, but so they so I just, that fire was calling me to do something else, And I think some of the worst advice that I hear out there is like, don't follow your passions, just go into something that
Stable,
stay
safe.
stable. And I just think like what a waste of like life kind of in
Yeah.
some sense. Like no, chase your dreams, do it in a smart way, but like
That's the
do it
part
in a
that-
smart way. You might not be able to jump all in
Yeah.
at one time. Maybe you need to phase your way in, but like don't ever like dim that light or like put out that fire. Chase
Yeah.
that fire and listen to your intuition. A lot of people kind of suppress their intuition, and I think like your intuition is in some like your highest sense in some way. Like it knows more than maybe your like active brain does. So chase that fire, believe in your intuition, and like go after something exciting. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're gonna be 100 years old or whatever, and look back. And if you didn't chase it, you're be filled with regret. you
Yeah,
know?
there. You know the movie Coach Carter.
I actually have my only tattoo is from that movie. Our greatest fear is not
No
that we're
way!
inadequate. Yeah,
This
that's
has
my
been-
only tattoo.
In the
yeah.
last year, that has become one of my favorites. I only knew the part from like Coach Carter, and then it's also referenced in Akilah and the Bee with Keke Palmer and I'm forgetting. Oh, is it Lawrence Fishburne? Yeah. And I've never seen the full thing, and one day I was thinking about it, and I went back and I read the whole thing, and I was in an airport coming back to Charlotte, and I literally started to tear up, and which is very rare that I got very emotional about it because it was just like, it's this idea that like you living out your passions is going to inspire somebody else to live theirs out. And you just said something now, it's like dimming your light does no one any favors. Matter of fact, it robs everyone else around you of what could potentially be because you're holding yourself back. So it's like, how selfish of us to not pursue those things to their fullest extent because we rob ourselves, but then we rob the world. Like, so many people, like, what is it? They say like the graveyard is where so many great ideas have died because they had them and they never pursued them. So it's like, why would we rob ourselves and the world around us of those things? But I also agree, you got to be smart. Don't quit your day job with benefits if you're not sure that this new thing is going to work. Like phasing into it, I think is important. But I love that that's the tattoo you have. I literally been thinking about getting a tattoo.
So for people
that.
listening who don't know the quote, the first paragraph of it is, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure." And like you said, to me that means like, go after it, like really, really get after it. And so when I first heard that quote, it was in Coach Carter. I was like 16 at the time, loved it, started looking into it, and I saw Nelson Mandela said it. I was like, wow, this is a Nelson Mandela quote. When I was 18, I got it tattooed. And then, I don't know, 5 or 10 years later, there was the Democratic debates were happening. There's this lady, Marianne Williamson, who's like an author.
Yeah.
And she's a little kooky. And it turns out it was her quote.
I also thought it was Nelson
I
Mandela.
thought it was
at
Nelson
first, and it's
Mandela, and
not.
I found out it was Marianne Williamson. This is like randomly, but so I have this Marianne Williamson quote tattooed on me, but it does mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny that moment when I realized it was not actually
I
Nelson
literally was
Mandela
looking it up,
first.
like I think with Nelson Mandela, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this is saying that he's not the person who actually wrote this.
But he
piece.
said it. He did say it. He said it. I think in his speech. But he took the quote from. I think she said it in a book first. But
Yeah,
it's a great quote, and there's more to it too. Like you said, it talks about like don't dim your light for
Yeah.
other people, different stuff like that.
Yeah, it's that one has really impacted just the way I see things and like being. I think it beautifully said how to be authentic and like the importance of being authentic, because you being authentic allows other people to feel like they can also be authentic. And then there's a line in there, it's like you being shy or something doesn't do us any good. And it's like all these things where I'm like, you know what, go for it. Like even for me, my first thought was like, this podcast, like I wasn't a social media guy. Like I've got my own personal Instagram or whatever, but it's for my friends and family, like nothing crazy. And then it's like, no, this is something I'm passionate about, go for it, because I don't know who this helps. Like in my heart, like I would love that this thing grows and like a business, Keith Lee, like he shows up somewhere and like a restaurant is struggling and he says, come to this restaurant, it's good, and all of a sudden they blow up. Like I would love to be able to tell stories about places in Charlotte. It's like, hey, here's this business that's doing an amazing stuff. You need to go check them out. Here's your story. And people then like become fans, not just of like their product, but of the businesses or like growth and things happening in the city. So that quote has stuck with me. Literally last week I was asking my wife, I'm like, where do you think I could get that tattooed? I was like, because I feel like that one really hits home. So that is nuts that you said that. All right, so you talked about Camp North End. And there's something I do want to get your perspective on because I think it's important. our city is growing and changing, and there's a lot of discourse around it. For the most part, I think a lot of discourse goes in the right direction of positive, more inquisitive, challenging, but in the right way. There was recently a publication a couple months ago about Camp North End that I felt really proud as a Charlottean because the people of Charlotte came for this publication. They were like, you are wrong. They're like, Camp North End doesn't have stuff going on. And the people were like, you are wrong. You're not spending time there. And like, I was going back to that comment section for like a week to continue to follow the conversations. It was businesses here, people that I know. And I just want to know from you as someone who is dedicating your career is right now is in Camp North End development here. When that article comes out, but the response you see from the people, what is the conversation in the office? What is the conversation for you and these business owners? Like, what is that like to see that outward support of like, and really challenging, like, no, you've got this wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of pride, I guess. You know, like it was a lot of pride to see Charlotteans saying, no, we love Camp North End. But then one level kind of, I guess, up from that was all the business owners here. So Camp North End, I think, is really, really unique in Charlotte in that if you go to the coffee shop, like the owner of the coffee shop, Chandler and Tanner, they're there, like selling coffee. If you go to the plant store, Jules, she's there. If you go to Surefire Market, like I said, there's three brothers, they're there making the burgers, you know, like,
Yeah.
And I think Camp North End is the only place where the business owners, they are here in their business every day. These aren't chains. These are small businesses owned by Charlotteans. And when that article came out, those small business owners, those Charlotteans that are here putting their livelihoods on the line every
Absolutely.
day, they stepped up and said, no, we love this place. We think it's great. So the response was great. And I think like just zooming back, so Camp North End started in 2017 is when, you know, the company I work for now bought Camp North End. There was nobody coming to Camp North End at all. It was literally surrounded in a barbed wire fence, all industrial. And now you fast forward 8 years, what is 2025, and there was 1 million people here last year. 1 million people came through here. If that's not success, like I don't know what else is.
Yeah.
You know, you went from literal zero, barbed wire fence, to 1 million people coming here. I think that's like an outstanding success. And, you know, I think we're gaining momentum.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple years we're at 2-3 million and there's more people living here. So it was exciting to see that like Camp North End it is fulfilling its promise, you know, and you know, it's taken 8 years to get to 1 million people. I challenge many people to find another example of that anywhere else.
Yeah, I think it's special. I remember reading it, and I remember telling my wife, I'm like, look at this discourse that is happening. She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, the people of Camp North End and the fans of Camp North End are showing up right now. Like, they're letting it be known. We will not stand for you dragging. And I also thought it was highly unfair. And there were like, is it a bookstore here?
That's Novel Books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And others, folks, they were like, Michelle was chiming in, like her businesses. And like, it was really interesting to me to see that from the publication. But again, I had so much pride for the people. I'm like, this is how we make a difference. This is how we determine what our city is going to be. It's not from the publications. It's the people. It's the businesses. And that's why we do this. Like, I want to be a part of telling the stories of these businesses because they're the ones that are shaping Camp North End. Camp North End is fantastic, but it works because of the businesses that are here and the people they are and the people they bring in. So it's like, yeah, I was so proud of all these business owners to like stand up for themselves and like say like, no, Camp North End is that place. I mean, Mad Miles, what, a couple hundred people a night, every Tuesday here. Boiler Yard Brunch when I was here had a couple thousand people, like their Juneteenth Boiler Yard. Like it's insane.
Thursday night, free movies.
Yeah,
like 1,000 people are out here
Like,
watching free movies on the green.
And I would tell you, especially for the thing that I think is different in Camp North End than any other neighborhood, Camp North End has more, in my opinion, communal space than any of these other neighborhoods. Like you go to South End, you'll see a couple hundred people in a brewery here, a brewery there, but there's not like a gathering space, except for maybe Music Yard in South End, where people are gathering regularly. The movie things, when they had the series in the summer, isn't it sometimes like every week there's a new movie? So this is a couple hundred people every week for a free movie that's coming out. Boiler Yard Brunch, all this grassy, turfy area that you have here, this is communal space and nowhere else gets to do that. So it's like, yeah, some of these things might it's not everybody buying something, but it's people coming here and sharing life together in these spaces. So
Well, that's why I like to say it's a perfect slice of Charlotte, even from like the experience that you can get. So you can come here on a Thursday and watch an outdoor movie, and you don't have to pay a penny for it. You
Yep.
can just come and experience it. Friday nights we'll do live music. You can come and experience that for free. And then, or you could come on a whatever day and go get a coffee or
Yep.
go get a beer, so you can go patronize a business. Or you can go all the way to the top of experience where we have the Revelry, that's an event space here, and people are getting married here, like very high-end weddings. So there's everything from like free events, step that ladder all the way up to like the most high-end wedding. Bank of America, those types of companies are having their Christmas parties here, so, and everything in between. And I think it really is, from the experiences you can get from the businesses that you can see here. I think one thing we've done great too, we've curated a lot of unique businesses. One of the ways we've done that is by having different sized and priced spaces. So we have everything from, you mentioned Michelle. Michelle, she runs La Bodeguita out of an Airstream trailer right now. We have businesses, Kara's Cookies, for example, operating out of a 50 square foot closet. Rent is low on those spaces. These guys are selling cookies out of a closet. La Bodeguita, rent is low on these Airstreams.
Yeah.
You step it up to, we have these 1,000 square foot older spaces where people are doing, like Good Postage was operating out of there, was so successful they had to move.
Yeah.
And then you have Hex Coffee, another example where now Hex Coffee started in a little tiny space. They moved up to a 2,500 square foot beautiful space. So we have all these different spaces for entrepreneurs. So like if you're at the phase of your entrepreneurial career where a 50 square foot closet is right for you, we got you.
Yeah.
If you're at the phase where, like the Revelry, gigantic business, 25,000 square feet event space is right for your business, we got you.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. And so like any type of entrepreneur, you can find your home here at Camp North End.
Yeah, I love this. This is awesome. You recently started a podcast with Clayton, Shaping Charlotte. Is that right? Yeah, Shaping Charlotte. Tell me about that. How's that going? You guys are 2 episodes in. I've listened to the first one. What is that like, and what are you guys hoping for your podcast? I know you've got some short-term goals with an election coming up, but then also long-term. Tell me about this podcast.
Yeah, so the idea for the podcast kind of came a while ago. Me and Clayton we're always texting each other back and forth. We're both really interested in kind of making Charlotte a more walkable, kind of transit-oriented city as much as makes sense. And so we talked about, man, should we start a podcast to just talk about that, shine the light on like walkability, make it seem approachable. One thing that I really want to do is like put a friendly face on development and on walkability, on urbanism.
Yeah.
As it's not like a scary word, like I'm a guy, I'm a dad, like I'm not a cool crazy guy, like I'm just a normal guy, dad, and just put a fun, like friendly face on walkability.
Yeah.
So that was the seed of the idea, and this was a couple months ago. We were going to call it Charlotte Walks, a play off of
When
Charlotte
I interviewed
Talks.
Clayton, it was Charlotte Walks, and then when I hit him up, he's like, actually, we've changed the name of it. I was like, oh, okay.
It was going to be Charlotte Walks, which I think is cool, but it was always going to kind of be in the shadow of Charlotte Talks, which is a great podcast as well. So then it kind of went on the back burner, and then we saw this opportunity now there's a 1-cent sales tax coming up in Charlotte that would raise $20 billion to get the roads better, to get the trains, more trains, better trains, and to get more buses, better buses. And it's like all of our goals with walkability are more easily accomplished if this thing passes. So we're like, it kind of felt like a great time to focus. So the first kind of 12 episodes of our podcast, 10 or 12, whatever it may be, will be focusing on just like explaining that opportunity that Charlotte has. And it really is like a once in a lifetime opportunity that we have right now to shape the city. Like if this sales tax passes, there's going to be like, the roads are going to get finished in a way that is impossible otherwise. Like the buses are going to run smoother and better in a way that's impossible otherwise. We're going to build trains all across the city that's impossible otherwise. So it's a generational opportunity, and we felt like, okay, this is the perfect time to launch our podcast, talk on that. So short term, like you said, our goal is to explain this opportunity to people. And then long term, just going back to both of our goals, is to just, put a friendly face on walkability and kind of, shift the Overton window in Charlotte towards people being more like accepting of walkable neighborhoods, and just hopefully we're able to accomplish that.
Yeah, you said something about living in Noda with your boys and like, are they gonna walk or drive? We were in New York for a few days and stayed in Manhattan, and like, it's cool. This is why I think travel is so important, because you get to see how other people do things. But like, we're walking in New York. Like, oh, we're going to dinner here. It's like, yeah, sure, like, and I think New York is also interesting because you start to map it out. Sometimes the walk or the metro is only a couple minutes longer than the drive because of how the streets are set up. And I'm like, wow, like this is so different than Charlotte, where there are some places if you're trying to get to somewhere in Charlotte, you just have to drive or you have to Uber. Like there's not an alternative there for, or you'll be walking for 3 hours. But like when you live in the pockets,
Those walkable pockets,
the
yeah.
walkable pockets, it works. And so it's like, how do you make these walkable pockets even more connected? Because even in New York, when we're there, like getting from one area to another, like there's a metro that can take you there, or there is greenways that you can take you there. They're bike lanes. They've got fantastic like strictly just bike lanes for people to be getting up and down. It's like, this is how you make it more connected in a way that makes sense and that builds up the city. So I think it's awesome that you guys are doing that. What is something that, at a grander scheme, outside of just the walkability and these pockets, what is your hope for the city of Charlotte?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to giving more people access to walkable neighborhoods. Like right now, if you go look at what are the quote unquote walkable pockets in Charlotte, Noda, Plaza Midwood, Dilworth, South End, some places on the west side, Wesley Heights, for example.
Yeah.
What do all those have in common? Obviously, they're walkable, but they're also expensive, and they're expensive because there's way more demand than there is supply, And so I think like if we can up the supply of those places, like bring it from 10 of those pockets to 30 of those pockets, the cost to live there will go down. And so like really I want to lower the barrier to entry to walkability. So
Yeah.
I want more people to be able to afford to live in a place where they can walk their kids to school and bike to work and walk to the coffee shop on the weekend and go out on a date night and you could have a couple drinks and you don't have to worry about it because you could just walk straight
Yep.
home, And so I want to, right now that's an expensive lifestyle because there's only a few places where you can do that in a city like Charlotte.
It's a privilege for sure.
It is a
Like,
privilege.
we live in, even living in Noda, we live in the West Side, living in South End. Like there's a privilege to. We tell people we're living the dink life, that dual income, no kids. That is one of the benefits that we get because we don't. But for a young family that's coming in, depending on the jobs you have, like you might want that, but like you said, you're priced out of it.
And so I want less people to be priced out of it. I want everybody who wants that to be able to afford it. And the thing is, not everybody's going to want that.
Yeah.
Like some people love the suburbs and a big yard with lots of space, and that's fine. Like, that's completely fine. And I think the suburbs are better if the cities are better. Like they all kind of work in tandem. And so like the more people who can live in the city like they want to and like get around, walk like in a walkable way, the more space there is for the suburbs to be great and do their thing. Like they all kind of play a role in the ecosystem. But right now, everyone is being pushed out into the suburbs, whether they want to or not, because that's the only place you can find an affordable place to live. And so I think we need to really look around and say, like, okay, where can we find opportunities to build these walkable pockets like Camp North End, 1 mile away from uptown Charlotte,
Yep.
And we're going to have 2,000 apartments here. That's 2,000 new homes, maybe 4,000 people that could live right here. And I think it's going to be an amazing opportunity and unlock, like, that's going to change the lives of, thousands of people for their day-to-day and then the millions who will be able to come through this space.
Let suburb people live in the suburbs and city people get to live in the city if that's what they want. But I think a lot of people are city people in their heart are pushed to the suburbs. And it's like the suburbs change because it's not the people who really want to be there. Because when I think of the suburbs, it's like oftentimes the community is different in like these neighborhoods. Like the first neighborhood I remember growing up in, we were like biking with all the other kids in the neighborhood, and like when it comes Halloween, like you're doing the trick or treating. Some city people, young folks, don't want to have to do all that stuff in the neighborhood, so they go, and then it's like, oh well, there are only a few houses that put out candy because they're not people who want to be there, but that's where they can most afford to live. So yeah, I think I never thought about that till you said it, but yeah, if we create more opportunities for it, the suburbs get to be great, the cities get to be great, and everybody gets to live where.
And one thing that people hear development and they think it's a bad word, and they'll see a new apartment's coming to Plaza Midwood and it's going to take down 10 trees, like that's terrible. But if you think about it, like if you're able to build a 300 unit apartment complex right in Plaza Midwood, a neighborhood where you're already plugged into all the amenities, like you can get to school, you can get to the Gold Line, you can get to parks, the Greenway, so you're already plugged into these amenities. If you block that, what's going to happen is they're going to build 300 houses on the outskirts of town in like Waxhaw on 40 acres, and just take down a whole forest to do it instead. So it's like And a lot of times people, it's like, if it's happening out there, it's like, see no evil kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know? But it's like
Out
the
of mind,
houses
out of
are getting
sight.
out of sight, out of mind. But the houses are getting built. 157 people are moving here every day.
They're going somewhere.
Yeah, Clayton put it in a good way. He said that is it's like half a building in South End, like 3 blocks in Dilworth. It's like a whole neighborhood in Steel Creek, for example, every single day coming to this region. And so it's like those
Whoa.
people are going somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
And so like we do need to build housing for them. And if we're not able to build it in the city where there's already like access to amenities, it's going to get built on the outskirts of the city. That's going to cause more traffic because all those people still need to come to jobs in the
Yep.
city. It's going to cause, more destruction of the environment because you have to take down more trees per person to get that built. And so I think the more we can actually like infill development, and that's kind of what I want to focus my career on, is infill development, build where there's already amenities to kind of just plug into. So you don't
Yeah.
need to build your whole new street network to get the houses out here. You just plug into the existing street network, and then those people can they can live their lives and enjoy what's already there.
Guys, this is what passion looks like. I would just say that this is truly what. This guy was a whole professional soccer player less than 5 years ago, and now he talks about this like you would think he studied a whole degree in this development. And I just think that's so cool because again, you were probably such a stranger to this conversation some years ago, and now you talk about it with such passion and informed, and like you care, and now you're being a part of it. I think that's super cool.
Just
What have
chasing
you-
that fire, you know?
Yeah. So what have you learned about yourself? I know how you feel about development. I know kind of your message to the city now, but like what have you learned about yourself in all this journey from almost finishing the engineering degree, pro soccer player, to now? Is it going to be following that fire, or what is that thing that you've been learning and proud of along the journey?
Yeah, I think that's a really good and deep question. I feel like I'm going to regret my answer no matter what I
No,
say
take
here
your time.
it won't be good enough. But I guess just like your time on the world, you want to leave a good impact on the people around you.
Yeah.
And that's why, especially so like in soccer, it felt really good to I was talking about scoring in away games, but
Yeah.
it felt really good to score for home games. I remember this game on July 4th. Here's a good story for you. On July 4th, it was maybe 2017. I subbed into a game against Atlanta, and apparently some guy in the stands tweeted, "If this Canadian saves us on July 4th, I'm getting a maple leaf tattooed on me." I subbed in. I scored 2 goals. We
Oh,
won.
my
We won the
goodness.
game, and he stuck to his word. I went with him. He got the maple leaf tattoo, and so like,
That's hilarious.
It was amazing. And so like the opportunity to like I made his night better that day.
Yeah.
And like that memory sticks with him. It sticks with me. The chance to like make people's lives better, the people around you, and so that I was able to do that in soccer. Where in Dallas, when I scored a goal, like how 50,000 people in Dallas went to bed happier that night.
Yeah.
In Orlando, when I scored a goal, same thing. The people in Orlando went to bed a little happier that night. And now in development, if I'm able to create the Camp North End or be a part of the team that creates the Camp North End that we all know it can be, 1 million Charlotteans get to go to bed a little bit happier
Yeah.
that night. And so I think just like making life better for the people around you, I've just found that that's what I like to do. Like that's what really drives me. And there's different ways to do it. Like it was soccer, now it's walkability and urbanism and development. And I feel really blessed to be kind of chasing that vision. And it's also making my life better. Like make my life better, make my family's life better, make the people around me, make their life a little bit better as good as I can.
Yeah. I'm gonna give the two of us some props. One of the things I appreciate, we aren't from Charlotte. Like Charlotte is 3 years, 5 years. Like we haven't been here a long time, but yet this passion we have and the way we're trying to make our city better. Like you talk about Charlotte, like, and I do too. We talk about Charlotte like Charlotte's our hometown. Like, no, we haven't been here a long time. But when I travel and people ask where I'm from, I get into this debate with some of my friends. They're like, I say where I grew up. And I'm like, no, I say Charlotte. I was like, because Charlotte is the place that I identify with as where I am from. Now, I am part of a melting pot of people that are figuring out what we want to do with our lives and how to make our city better in a place that's growing and evolving. I am Charlotte. Charlotte is me. Like, that's how I see it. And hearing you talk about it, I just think it's cool that it's like, we have pride the way people, like New Yorkers have pride about being from New York. Like, I'm from New York. Like, I'm never leaving. And it's like, we have this pride too, and we're doing something about it. So want to give us our own kudos.
No,
there
I
too.
agree with you. And it's like you can be from a place, but you can also choose a place.
Right.
You know, and both of us, like we chose to plant our flag in Charlotte, and Charlotte lets you do that
Yes.
in a way that a lot of cities don't. Like a lot of cities, you try to plant that flag and you hit a rock. You know,
Yeah.
like the flag
You're like,
doesn't
"You're not really
stick.
from
Yeah, you're not really
here."
from here. The flag doesn't stick. Not in Charlotte. In Charlotte, when you come plant that flag, like your neighbor is coming and helping you plant that
Yeah,
flag.
absolutely.
You
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together, and so choosing Charlotte is really powerful.
Yeah. So where can people find you? Because I know people are going to hear this and want to keep up with what's going on, but where can people find you? X, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. How can they interact with you?
So 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends too. You find me at Camp North End.
Okay.
I'm here every day, all day. Other than that, yeah, find me on X, on Instagram, Tesho13, and then follow the podcast. You can look it up anywhere, Shaping Charlotte.
Yep.
On Instagram, I think it's
You gotta make
Shaping
sure we
CLT.
tag it in
yeah,
here.
yeah. Follow the podcast, and I think Clayton and I are going to try to do some like X Live or Twitter Spaces things. Because we're having these great conversations with guests on the podcast, but we want to open it up to
Yeah.
the community and talk about what we've learned. So hopefully we're going to kick that off soon, where we can do some like live interactions with just answering questions and going from there. So find me in person here at Camp North End. Find me online, Tesho13, and find me on the podcast, Shaping Charlotte Podcast.
Awesome. Well, please make sure, it's not often that we do this because we want to make sure we believe in it, but make sure you actually go check out their podcast. We don't just plug anybody's podcast. Go check theirs out because I believe in what they're doing. Tesho and Clayton, both incredible individuals who love the city and want the city to be better. And episode 1, I'm learning about urbanism and development and walkability from them. And so these are guys that I'm getting to learn from that you should take some time to get to learn from. It's going to make all of our lives better. And we all have a voice. And so how do we use our voice, talk about and say what we want and how we want it to affect our city? Tesho, thank you so much for being a part of our first mini-series. This has been, telling my wife about it, and she was like, oh, I like this. So this is cool. We're going to have a few other people on from Camp North End, but right now we're going to use these episodes to really wave the flag of Camp North End and what things that are happening here, the businesses and all the incredible things that you and your team are working on to create this beautiful slice, like you said, of Charlotte. But thank you for being on the podcast. I'm sure we'll be seeing you again at some point.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this mini series, and I think the more you dig into Camp North End, the more interesting it becomes. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to see what stories you can pull out of this.
Thank
place.
you. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode as we continue to share the amazing stories we have here in Charlotte.